I don't lose any of the good stuff.
I think it's already recording.
Oh, nice. Okay, perfect. Yeah, no problem. Zoom always picks right before the call starts, doesn't it? Just to go update all my software and do all the things. How have
Yeah,
you
I
been,
think
Tega?
I've been good. I've been good. How about yourself?
Yeah, really good, really good. It's been weird. It's been a weird little while since I've haven't spoken to you.
Don't don't feel insulted. I don't really speak to people.
Same.
Unless, yeah, like I love to keep to myself. Unless I'm working with you, um, it's very rare that I will reach out to people to speak to people. So it's just the way I am.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Introverts unite, right? So, like, in light of that, I particularly want to thank you for making time for having this conversation with me today. But like, basically, the idea is I want to speak to people who are running service-based businesses who are doing a really good job of like any part of the funnel. So who are like doing an amazing job of like customer acquisition, who are doing a really good job of like the reputation piece, doing a good job of fulfillment and maybe systems and things, and like share some of the wisdom in what's working in a bunch of different service-based businesses, online, offline, all of that sort of good stuff. And share some of the best practices on the sort of stuff that you want to be known for, basically.
Okay, that makes sense.
So give me a little bit of an idea about how you got started. Tell me about your business. What problem were you trying to solve when you started your business?
Um, I actually started mine by I say accident. It wasn't really an accident. I was helping a friend out. They had paid a service provider to deliver a service, and that person ghosted them. Like later on, we found out that they were dealing with some mental stuff, like some mental health stuff. Not that they're crazy, but they
Yeah,
were dealing with some mental health stuff, which is understandable. But in the moment, this person had a bunch of clients who had paid for a service to be delivered, and the person who was meant to be delivering the service after they'd gotten the money just disappeared. So it's like I need somebody to kind of step in and help. And he came to me and said, "Can you do this?" And I said, "Yeah, I can." I was like, "Right, would you be willing to help?" And after you help, you can basically take them on as clients because they're gonna fire the other service provider.
so
Uh,
give people a little bit of an idea about like how you helped, what kind of service you provide, and who you specifically want to attract into your world.
I got you. Let's start with the who, because that's to me that's kind of like the easiest place to start. The who for me is like online service-based entrepreneurs. I think more generally they may be called coaches, consultants, like online service provider types. The problems that I solve is I help them systemize the creation of content so that putting content out is no longer a chore. And so the putting content out is no longer a chore for a start. And they don't have to sink time into learning the algorithm and learning new skills that they may not have. What was the third one? There was three. Who I help, the problem I solve.
Who you help, the problem you solve, and sort of like what you want to be what you want to be known for, really, like the sort of work that you do. So when it comes to content creation, like I found out recently that some people, when you say content creation, think like OnlyFans and stuff.
OnlyFans, yes.
I only found that out the other day because I would be in the same category as you,
Yeah.
and I'm like, really? Do people think that? Okay, I need to maybe rethink how I talk about it. So when we're talking about content, are we talking about podcasts, social media, blogs, websites? Tell me about like the sort of thing that you help them to produce and how you help them to produce it.
Um, the easiest way I can describe it is that when it comes to creating content for business, um, where I'm different to everybody else is I like to shoot for the highest leverage point. I don't really pay attention to the algorithm. I don't care what the algorithm is doing. The reason for that is because I believe like if we're doing business with people, so
Mm.
if you speak to a problem or a set of problems that your ideal clients have, they will find you, whether the algorithm pushes you or not. Naturally, you want to play the game a little bit and create broad content so that you have more reach. But generally, we don't. I don't tell my guys to play the game of like trend chasing for the algorithm or uh trend chasing in terms of virality, because our goal is not really to go viral. And then trend chasing in terms of like what I'm seeing more recently is like everybody selling like here are the 10 hooks that you need. It's like, okay, yeah, learn about the point or learn the fundamentals of hooks, but then speak to that fundamental in your content so that you grab the attention of the people that you're trying to grab the attention of. So that is kind of what my philosophy is built on. And then layered on top of that is this idea of uh video first for content. And the reason for that is with the recent rise in AI, and the declining levels of trust, creating video content is a quick way for you to stand out. And layered on top of that is authentic video content in the sense that where you make a mistake, where you and are, where you are searching for the answer in your brain before you deliver it perfectly, we prioritize that type of content over super hyped, over edited, and overly polished. Because what I'm seeing and really what has been trending since video was a thing on the internet is that authenticity, that authentic feel to what you're putting out. And then layered on top of all of that is repurposing the video content that we create for you so that we leverage the work that you do once and you don't have to be constantly recording or creating content. And
Spot on.
that's it basically.
Spot on. We are tightly aligned on on like antivirality, ignore the algorithm, speak to human psychology. We're very closely aligned on those things. Talk to me about maybe a recent win. You've done some work for a client, you've repurposed some content, they've come to you for perhaps video, and they've had a really big win off the back of some of the work that you and your team have done. Talk to me about anything that comes to your mind now, top of mind, recent win.
Um, the most the most recent one, and I know about this because I was just doing a little bit of an audit to look through stuff to change my marketing message and put up-to-date details in there, is a client that we've been working with for like a year. Yeah, I think it's a year. We've been working with him for a year. In the first 3 months of working together, he went from getting like, because he's primarily on LinkedIn, he went from getting between 150 and 250 views to getting over 1 million views in 3 months.
Wow,
Yeah, and then
that's killer.
I followed up with him 3 weeks ago. It was 3 or 4 weeks ago I followed up with him and we were basically like just chatting, just shooting the breeze. And he said, "Oh, we took some of the content that you created, we've put it on YouTube. And somebody saw one of those videos on YouTube and they want to pay us 90 grand to work with us for the year," which I thought was pretty cool. Work that we did 6 months ago, they've
Mm,
just repurposed it and taken it, put it on YouTube, and that's given them a new way to grab attention. And the cherry on top is the fact that they had like 26 subscribers and they got somebody wanting to pay them 90K for the year.
that has got to be the biggest of all the stories I've heard about YouTube, small audiences, long tail, all of the sort of benefits of YouTube. I think that's got to be the most significant in terms of audience size to revenue. Huge win for them. What industry are they in, Tega?
Uh, he calls it demand generation.
Okay.
Simpler minds might just call it lead generation for medium-sized enterprises. It doesn't work with like small. It works with like medium to large. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Amazing. So, um, that client, I'm assuming he's going to be an example of a great fit client for you.
Yeah.
How did you acquire him? Was it word of mouth? Was it an ad? Was it like how did you come to get to land him as a client?
Um, leveraging social relationships, I would say, because we've been in each other's world. I've paid him for something before. He's paid me for something completely different to this before. And one day, like I saw a post from him and I just thought, oh, I haven't seen you in a while. Like, what's going
Mm.
on? Let's chat. And then that chat developed into the working relationship where we've been working together for like a year now, and he's getting all these results from the work that we've done together.
I honestly think that it's got to be one of the most underrated um, lead generation sources, relationship generating sources, is I spent money with them first. The number of people who have gone on to be great fit clients for me are people who I had a working relationship with because I wanted, I'm curious about the way you work. So, I mean, I've done that with you before, right? Where I've paid you
Yeah.
for something and I'm like, help me with this one problem. Super, super underrated. And I don't think anybody ever talks about that. One of the things I'm personally trying to work on, so this is a little bit of a selfish question, is the systems and processes you have around onboarding a new client
All
so
right.
that they feel taken care of, the service is memorable, that you've got maybe upsells and cross sells. I've recently discovered that I'm doing a horrendous job of upsells. Talk to me about the systems and processes that you've got in your own business in terms of service and delivery.
Um, I always told myself that like when it comes to business, I've got my hat on backwards because I always start with like figuring out the systems for fulfillment and delivery. And the reason I do that rather selfishly is so that I don't have to do it because
Yeah.
I have a small team, right? So in terms of building those systems, the way that I think about it is what would impress me if I was paying somebody for something. So I start there and I kind of reverse engineer it. It's like recently I paid somebody almost £1,000, over $1,000 for the American listeners. I paid them £1,000, and the the chat we had before I paid them, and the way working with them after I paid them is being so vastly different that I'm seriously considering getting my money back
Really?
because yeah, it's still within the 30-day window, but the chat that we had before I paid, things were said and promises were made that once I paid, it's almost like I feel like I was an afterthought. I feel like every time I reach out to this person, it's like, oh, in my head, I'm thinking, he's probably thinking, oh God, not you again.
Mm,
You only paid me 1,000. But then at the end of the day, I'm thinking, yeah, I paid you 1,000 quid. I worked for that 1,000 quid.
yeah.
That's my life force I'm never going to get back. So I shouldn't feel terrible asking you to deliver something that you said was part of the package of what I was buying before I paid, right? So when it comes to creating or thinking about systems for fulfillment, that's usually where I start. What would I like or what would wow me if I paid somebody? Um, what I found is thinking from that point of view gives me room to be creative in how I create onboarding systems and how I create fulfillment systems on the back end.
That's a really, really powerful question. And when it comes to um, any sort of systems, once they have become a customer, in terms of upsells, cross sells, maybe downsells, retention, referrals, have you got any insights for us in terms of the sort of relational part once they've become a client?
Yeah. Um, I've only started paying attention to this. I read a book, I can't remember the guy's name, but the book is called Retention Point. Yeah, I can't remember his name. I read that, and that kind of opened my eyes to think more along the lines of leveraging the relationships that and the good work that I do with people on the front end.
Mm,
Um, so prior to reading that book, my one goal was just like do what you say you're going to do. Do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it by, and then leave the door open for feedback. That was how I managed it. But after reading this book, Retention Point, I've kind of been I've been building like an AI supported system to one, remind me that I need to follow up, and two, setting up again AI supported infrastructure that collects feedback. I want to say on the 30-day window. I'm going to try a 30-day window whenever I roll it out. And my thinking in doing that is collecting feedback day one or day zero, if you will, immediately after they buy. It's like, why did you buy? What was it that I said that made you believe or that brought you over the line and into the thinking that this is for you and this will help you? Um, and then around day 15, it's like, yo, we've been working together for 2 weeks now. How are you finding the work? Do you have any issues, any hangs up, or anything that we can do within the realms of reality that will improve the working relationship? And then by day 30, because of the way that I work, usually by 30 days, I would have delivered some results. It's like, cool, how are things going? Um, how are you finding what we're delivering for you? And do you have any general feedback in terms of what you would say if somebody was thinking of working with us, somebody was on the fence of working with us? But I haven't deployed that yet, so I can't really speak to that. It's just giving you an idea of how I'm thinking to build it. But before that, it's just been a case of do what you say you're gonna do it when you said you were gonna do it, deliver good work, and be open to feedback.
Golden. I was going through some of my numbers this week, actually, coming towards the close of September and into the start of October. Uh, I believed, I held a belief that my clients no longer ascended. So I was operating from the perspective of getting people in on a low ticket model to sell them something more expensive down the road when trust is built is a pointless model. I don't believe that happens anymore. And when I looked at the data, that is totally wrong. That does happen still quite a lot in my business, but I had no systems around upsells. So it was only just happening sort of by random whenever I kind of thought to do it.
Yeah,
And what I noticed was people were upselling themselves about 14% of the time, almost 15% of the time. And if I could get that number through systems up to 20%, it would be worth an extra £54,000 a year in my business.
nice.
I just for the sake of having a type form, having some emails that go out on day 30, building an agentic AI around like, hey, Cath, you probably should check in and, ask them if they need something else.
Yeah,
And out of either resistance to systems or like in some ways, not wanting to be seen. You've already just spent some money with me. I don't want to invite you to spend more money again. I think there was
yeah.
some resistance around that for me. Um, I wasn't doing it, and as a result, they were churning earlier than they should have been because I could have been helping them more. So I was asking that purely from a selfish perspective. Um, Tega, you're a bit of a man of mystery. We don't see you around a great deal. You're kind of an introvert. You don't mix. You don't play well with others like me. How are you currently marking yourself? And the critical question of the whole thing for me is, what is working uncommonly well for you right now in acquiring customers, that you would like to share and not keep to yourself?
So I've always had an issue with this, primarily for the reason that you state, because I see myself as an introvert. And then I have this weird thing that happens in my head whereby I think, oh, just because I've solved this problem or just because I got to the bottom of it, that automatically means everybody knows it. And
Yes.
that problem is not of worth, right? So because of those two things, I have really resisted kind of just okay, I say resisted. It's half resisted and it's half avoided. I've resisted pushing myself out there and I've avoided it because I use the label of introvert to be like, oh, I don't really want to talk to people. I'm not a people person. But this year in particular, I made a conscious decision that I was going to step out of my comfort zone of introversion and actually put myself out there. And something that's worked quite well for me this year is just doing cold outreach on LinkedIn.
Really cold is working best for you.
Weird as that sounds. Maybe okay. Best in this case, I would say is subjective. And I would say it's subjective because to me that's best because I've seen how I've come out of my shell and I'm cold pitching people without worrying or without letting it dent my confidence because that was a big problem for me before. When somebody says no, when somebody says or ghosts me, I used to take it personally.
Yeah.
But through the year, I've gotten to the point where it's like, Maybe they got stuff going on in their life. They will reach out to me. And if they don't reach out to me, that's cool. I had an experience around May or June this year where somebody that because everything I'm doing is like there's elements of automation in it. So somebody that I reached out to on LinkedIn was trying to flame me and drag me across the coals, being like, "Oh, I hate people that do all of these automatic outreach on LinkedIn. You can't take the time to get to know me." And then they took a screenshot of my message and they very poorly like tried to put like red ink that you would get from like Microsoft Paint or like a screen recording software over my profile. And I saw it and I kind of knew that I was ditching the old me that used to be scared of, oh my God, like this person is basically saying I'm a bad person. I knew I was ditching that whenever I commented on that person's post. LOL, sorry you didn't like it. Um, I can't message 5,000 people a day by doing individual research on everybody. I hope you have a great day, right? And then just for the lack of like to make sure there was no mystery, I took a screenshot of her post and took a screenshot of my post and said this was about me, by the way, and put it as a comment on her post. So
Oh,
when you say working best for me, that's the mindset or that's the mind view which I'm answering that question from.
yeah, I love
Things
that.
that,
I love the art coming at that from a growth perspective in terms of like how you're growing as a business owner. I think that's a really honest thing. I don't think we get to see enough of that sort of like self-reflection side of founders. I love that you went in that direction with it.
yeah, yeah, like some people say it doesn't work anymore. I think my thinking is everything works.
Yeah.
Right? Everything works if you stick at it long enough. People will do stuff for a week and be like, "Oh yeah, I tried that. It didn't work." Like I've been trying to play around with Facebook ads to generate leads for my service. And before I turned my ads on, all I was seeing was, "Oh, webinars don't work anymore. You need to do like a mini VSL." And then the next week it was like, "Oh, mini VSLs don't work anymore. You need to be doing like straight Instagram DM ads." And knowing what I know, I just thought, you know what? I understand how, because it was Facebook ads, I understand how Facebook ads work. I understand the principle of putting an offer out, putting it to people who need your service. Why don't I just put together like a stupidly simple ad, put it out there, see what happens, right? I'm not gonna burn money, but at the same time, I should be able to test something relatively quickly to know if it will work or not. Whipped up an ad. Um, Again, like imposter syndrome kind of kicking in. I was kicking the can down the road. And then one day, just before I checked out for the day on the Friday, I just turned the ads on and said, let's see what happens over the weekend. I came back and I had like ten leads that I had to follow up with, and I'd spent less than 100 quid. Correctly, I'd spent less than $100. I'm
Yeah.
like, this stuff can be so simple if we, one, just trust ourselves and trust our experience. And if you don't have experience, I think it's better because now you can kind of just stumble around like a child trying to figure out how to walk, figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you, instead of boxing yourself in a corner trying to listen to what everybody else is saying. Because when you realize that everybody who's saying something is trying to sell you something, you can then look at what everybody else is saying with a clearer idea of what could work for you and what's likely not to work for you.
Yeah. One of the things I'm in the same zone as you at the moment. I think one of the things I'm seeing is everything works. It's about finding what suits your personality type. It's about finding what works for this season of your life, your preferences, your ti how much time you want to spend on things. And like you can. It's that midwit meme, isn't it, of like overcomplicating things, and then you think,
Yeah.
actually, I probably just need to get out of my own way here and make an offer. Um,
Yep.
Tell me about something that you experimented with recently that totally flopped, with no judgment, and what you learned from it.
The ads.
Okay.
I just talked about it. It didn't flop in the sense that it didn't generate leads. It flopped in the sense that my, for once, my technical systems behind the scenes couldn't keep up,
Interesting.
right?
Okay, cool.
The the landscape has changed so much with the rise of AI, with the rising popularity of tools like GHL and what have you, that I didn't realize what it would take to basically run a compliant follow-up system on the back end, right? The last time I put ads out to generate leads for myself or to generate leads for clients in any way, the rules weren't as stringent. So to this day, I'm still chasing GHL to get my A2P verification taken care of so that I can compliantly send messages to the people that give me their phone numbers. I've emailed them, but for some reason these guys haven't responded to email. So I've spent like I think in the end I got like 35. Yeah, in the end, I think I got like 35 leads for 432, which is a steal,
Mm.
right? But because my technical setup on the back end failed me, I haven't followed up with those people as adequately as I should have followed up with them. But like going back to what I said before, it's a learning experience.
Million percent.
I found out that there's a hole in my game, so I need to fix that. But in finding that out, I have potentially an offer that works if I can put money behind it. Um, it works. It works because when I run ads, I generate leads for it. So if I have that system, I get to learn another lesson. It's like, okay, maybe whenever that system is up, the initial set of messages that I send are repulsive and I have to figure that stuff out. But I have to go through that process of learning and figuring stuff out instead of waiting on the sidelines for Sally Mae over in Arkansas somewhere to come up with the perfect SMS messages to send to turn cold leads into discovery calls or to turn cold leads into clients.
Million. Do you know what? I think that basically sums up all of entrepreneurship, isn't it? Like the willingness to get your hands dirty and make mistakes, and the sense of I'm not paying for leads, I'm paying to learn about the customer, or I'm learning about my process or my back end or my tech. Honestly, I'm in the same, like the tech bit of it for me is probably the hardest bit because, write the ad, know the avatar, deliver a service, all that stuff's fine. And then you get to the like, how can I automate? How can I fulfill? How can I do the tech bit? How can I make sure I'm compliant? And that changes all the time.
Yeah.
That's so strong. What advice would you give someone who is offering a brilliant service in a similar sort of industry to you?
In what context? Because
So
to say give
another content, another somebody who is helping other digital entrepreneurs online to create content. How could they make smart decisions? How can they use your blueprint to fast track what they're doing? What are the big mistakes that they should avoid? What give a piece of advice to me.
okay. So for somebody who is doing what I do, the very first thing that I would say you need to get clear on is your framing and your positioning. The barrier to entry is so low, right? For the right person, right? For what I'm doing, somebody who knows how to edit video, somebody who knows how to edit audio and play around with multimedia. The barrier to entry is so low that if you do not figure out your framing and positioning before you go to the market, you will end up hating what you do because you'll be competing with people that are doing they're clipping videos for $20 a video. So they clip in hour, sometimes 2 hour long podcast episodes or training videos for 2 hours a video. They're doing video editing for $100 a video if it's really, really good. Right. The problem with capitalism is, in my opinion, I'm not about to freaking stand on a soapbox here, but in my opinion, it's a double-edged sword. The good side of it is you can get going relatively quickly. The bad side of it is when there's a surplus of people who can do what you do, it becomes a price race to the bottom of a very dirty barrel, right? So figuring out your framing and positioning before you ever step foot into the arena is one way that you can basically set yourself apart because the time that you take to figure that stuff out will let you know how to speak to the people in your industry in a way that puts you in a category of one instead of you are effectively what I am. You're a video editor amongst a million video editors. 90% of them from what I've seen, seem to be in Pakistan and they can undercut you on price every day of the week and they will win if that's the game that you want to play. So figure out your framing and positioning so that you don't play in that pool. You are seen more like almost like a partner as opposed to just a video editor.
That's
That's what
strong
I would
advice.
say.
That's strong advice. This is going to be my last question, and then I'm going to let you go because I'm incredibly grateful for your time. Thank you so much for making time to speak to us today. The last question I want to ask you is, who else do you admire for the way they run their business? And this gives me a little referral pathway to ask the next person to come on and speak to me.
Um, there's so many people. The person that kind of comes to mind right now is uh it's a guy called Ross O'Loughlin.
I know him. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I'd love to
yeah,
speak to Ross. Oh my gosh.
right. The reason I say Ross is it goes back to the point I just made about figuring out your framing and positioning. I've never seen somebody move as quick as he does, establish themselves as quick as he does whenever he's sharing a new idea. It was actually him that I got that idea of like, oh crap. So the big mistake I made was I didn't figure out my freaking positioning, and I jumped into like I jumped into a red ocean, the reddest of the red ocean, at the worst time I could possibly do it. And if I just been aware of how I wanted to position myself, I wouldn't have suffered and made some of the mistakes that I made. So I would say like Ross is the right now is that guy for me.
Amazing. So we admire Ross for his speed to implement and his aggressive action. I will reach out to him and say that you recommended him. Thank you so much for your time today, Tega. I really, really appreciate you, mate. This has been a quality conversation, and it's really consolidated for me the realities of being deep into business and still having so much to learn. It feels like I actually feel like this year. I don't know. Maybe if you feel like this, this year feels like I'm almost learning things again for the first time. I feel like I'm returning to a lot of lessons at the moment and being like seeing them through a different lens. Is that a reality for you right now?
Um, it's always a reality for me. And the reason it's always a reality for me is because for the longest time in my life, I was closed off to feedback. And being closed off to feedback, what that did is it robbed me of the opportunity to improve, both in terms of like the services that I deliver, and in some ways growth as a person, because I kind of sealed off and locked myself off in an echo chamber. And I believed that what I was doing was needed. And I wasn't willing to listen to people who would pay me to deliver it, to tell me what to give them so they would give me more money.
Mm,
When I say it like that, I realize how stupid it was. But I've always been in that, I've always operated in that mind frame once I let go of that, like that hesitation to take on feedback. But once I let that go, that mode became my de facto. That mode is why my service, I realized I didn't even name it. It's called Content Buddy. We are on iteration 3 of Content Buddy because I'm open to feedback. Iteration 1 was super simple. I'll do the video for you. You tell me what you need. I'll get it done. I'll get it to you. Iteration 2 came about because somebody said, the videos you're doing are good, but I kind of feel like I'm wasting time creating all of these other contents. Like, oh, like lucky for you, I can kind of fix that problem. And iteration 3 came around whenever one of my clients, actually um the client that got like the million views that I mentioned at the start, he's like, dude, you're doing such a good job. Like the next problem I need to solve now is like, how do I get this out? How do I distribute all the stuff that you've created for me? So because I was open to feedback, I've been able to go from iteration 1 to iteration 3, and I'm looking forward to iteration 4. The reason for that is like AI related and stuff that's been going on behind the scenes. But I'm looking forward to iteration 4 because I get to make the service better. And every time I make the service better, I attract better quality clients that tell me how to make the service better, which then gets me speaking to more quality clients and make the service even better. And as I'm going through that cycle, the amount of money I'm charging is increasing every single time.
Quality. If somebody is interested in working with you on the video editing, distribution, and so on, where can they reach out to you?
Easiest place right now would just be like Facebook or my website. I need to update the website, but the Facebook, you can search for either me or Content Buddy, as in Buddy, or me, Tega. I'm sure Cath will put my name out there. Those would be like the two best ways to reach out. You never know, you might see my ads coming on your newsfeed at some point. Just click on it and we'll have a conversation and see if it's a good time to work together.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time today, buddy. I really appreciate you.
It's been my pleasure and a lovely, lovely speaking with you.
Speak to you soon. Bye
All
bye.
right, bye bye.